Picture this. The year is 2017, and Uber, once a darling of the tech world, is embroiled in scandal and chaos, threatening its very survival. Enter Dara Khosrowshahi, a seasoned leader with a reputation for turning challenges into triumphs. Before his dramatic entrance at Uber, Dara wasn't just another name in corporate circles. He was the quiet force behind the massive growth of Expedia, turning it into an online travel giant. But what does it take to lead under such pressure? To earn the trust of thousands of employees, win back wary customers, and steady a company on the brink. In today's episode, we'll explore the story of how Dara's calm determination, global perspective, and relentless pursuit of innovation took him from a refugee fleeing revolution in Iran to becoming the CEO tasked with steering one of the most talked about companies of our time. From challenge to challenge reveals the true heart of transformative leadership. Welcome back to Leaders, a podcast dedicated to exploring the best leaders this world has ever seen. Episode 40, we will cover the current Uber CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi. And so his early life and foundation really is from being born in Iran. His early life was shaped by significant upheaval when his family fled the Iranian Revolution in 1978, settling in the U.S. That experience instilled really resilience and a global perspective that would influence his later leadership style. He had an early career in finance after that, so beginning his professional journey there after graduating from Brown with an engineering degree, he joined Allen & Company investment bank, where he gained valuable insight into mergers and acquisitions and developed strong financial acumen. He then joined IAC and emerged as a leader. In 1998, he joined Barry Diller's Interactive Corp., where he quickly rose to the ranks. His work overseeing strategic growth and acquisitions showcased his ability to expand businesses, turning him into a key leader there. He then turned Expedia into a powerhouse. So in 2005, he took the reins as CEO of that company, which had begun a spin-off from IAC, and under that leadership, he transformed them from a domestic online travel agency into a global giant. He focused on aggressive international expansion, strategic acquisitions, and technological innovation, turning them into a leading travel company in the world. And that really demonstrated his ability overall to lead a complex, large-scale business, growing revenues substantially over that time. He does have a reputation for ethical leadership, so known for fostering inclusive and positive corporate culture, both at Expedia and Uber. Very transparent leader as well, and that contrasted with the leadership challenges at Uber in 2017, and we will compare and contrast kind of the founder of Uber's kind of leadership style and his later. And so he became CEO of Uber in 2017. They were facing a series of crises, including allegations of workplace misconduct, legal battles, executive-level turmoil. He was chosen over high-profile candidates to replace co-founder Travis Kalanick as CEO. His appointment was seen as a strategic move to rebuild Uber's reputation, guide it towards a successful IPO, and foster sustainable growth. He steered them through some turbulence. So since taking that helm, he's been involved in navigating complex regulatory landscapes, addressing internal and public trust issues, and diversifying Uber's business model beyond ride-sharing into areas such as food delivery, Uber Eats, and freight. His steady approach and emphasis on long-term strategy really has helped them transform into a more resilient, multifaceted company. And so what are some of the main leadership style and qualities that he really tries to overemphasize as a leader at Uber? There are a few different interviews that he's given over the years that he's helped articulate a lot of the leader principles that he's instilled within Uber. One of those being that companies should be constantly evolving. And there are different ways to kind of evolve a company, and those should be done at different paces, he thinks. And so from a slow perspective, the mission and the values should be developed and evolved slowly, while strategy is more of a medium sort of speed. And then the tactics, he really hones in on those being very fast to evolve and change and make decisions there. So he's really said that he's evolved it from a culture of move fast and break things to move fast and do the right thing, and prioritizing the needs of customers and employees alongside growth, scale, and profit. So what does that winning mean to him? It really means to optimize for who will you work with and making a difference in the world. And so before, he kind of characterized the Uber leadership as being too top down. And it works out now because he is top down, but he has also been there for a while and knows where the company needs to move forward. So he didn't take that approach right away, and really over time got a feel for what sort of direction he wanted Uber to go in. He did take some advice to sort of walk the halls, and we've seen this within other leaders of really doing that to show a face and really be on the front lines of the company. But ultimately, he says from a leadership perspective that really didn't work for him and it wasn't authentic to him. So his kind of self-awareness to really highlight to what is his natural leadership style, he felt that was not part of it. And so what is part of his leadership style? So I think it would be characterized mainly by a calm and diplomatic leadership style. So one of the most characteristic traits of Dara is his calm and diplomatic attitude. That stands in quite heavy contrast to the more aggressive and controversial leadership style associated with his predecessor, Travis Kalanick. Analysts mean that his leadership has helped improve Uber's relationships with regulators and stakeholders, key component to their sort of growth and success. When entering his new position at Uber, he made it a priority to address the company's past cultural issues. He implemented measures to promote a more inclusive and ethical workplace. His commitment to corporate responsibility and safety is central to Uber and its employees. And really, to illustrate more from a opposites standpoint of the Uber leaders, the global ride-hailing giant is betting on getting it out of the media cage it's gotten itself into. So Travis Kalanick, you can kind of describe as breaking the rules versus Dara makes the rules. Kalanick says look, Dara says listen. Travis has a proclivity for public hubris, and Dara tends toward humor. Travis is more of a salesman. Dara is more of a manager and leader. Travis was rough around the edges. Dara is as straight edge as it gets. Travis was an innovator, and Dara is more of a sculptor. Travis apologizes for what he's done. Dara apologizes for what he's not done. Travis is a disruptor. Dara is a stabilizer. Travis is self-reliant. Dara is self-aware. Finally, Travis is more of a startup background, and Dara had an executive background. So this just illustrates that there are I think different leaders that work in different styles, but then also different leaders are more effective at certain life stages of a company. And so maybe in part when it was more of a startup and really getting going, that Travis had the innovation and some of the characteristics that worked. But once the company evolves and comes through some tough times, that maybe that Dara is the right person to lead it. And so other leadership lessons that we can take from sort of the Uber story and Dara: silence breakers. So every sort of organization needs that courageous sort of silence breaker at every level to answer the question, what needs to be done that is not being said? So at Uber, asking this question has led to the unlearning of its brash cultural values, ditching ones like toe-stepping and always being hustling, to change that to say, do the right thing and we celebrate difference. That new set of human-led values is for a responsible firm that doesn't just focus ruthlessly on growth at any cost, but is more reflective of a future-fit, purpose-driven, values-led sort of leadership. It also takes a village, so missteps and a series of cultural shortcomings set the tone for Uber at the beginning of its growth. More recently, regulators are investigating firms to rethink governance, strengthening oversight, holding management accountable. When everyone is working on behalf of the culture and strategy daily, leadership should work more closely as one unified team with a laser-like focus. And Uber has introduced corporate universities to get employees on the same wavelength when it comes to mission, culture, and values, but also make the program sustainable by avoiding knee-jerk reactions to doing an event rather than creating a journey that encourages reflection, action, and personal empowerment for the long term. They do also, from Dara's leadership standpoint, make time to sort of unlearn a culture. So if culture is important, why don't leaders make enough time for it? It certainly does take discipline to build a healthy, trust-based culture rather than a fear-based one. Should really prompt leaders to rethink how best to hold themselves accountable in the boardroom. And to make a turnaround at Uber, internal cheerleaders showed a willingness to call out problems, engage in constructive debate, and connect people to deeply personalized unlearning initiatives that made it crystal clear that every individual has a right to own their part of the culture. Because in the end, who we are is what we say and do. So Dara overall was a large part of really unlearning the culture and then empowering each employee to help shape that new culture that he was going to instill, and then really have the direction and vision as to where does Uber go from here. So before we go more into Dara and who else he would have been inspired and worked with, he does assume the role of CEO at a time when it's facing a lot of different failures, challenges, different crises. Some of these included legal issues, public relation crises, and huge financial losses. Through careful decision-making and strategic planning, Dara played a crucial role in stabilizing the company by reducing losses and steering it toward profitability. Despite the headwinds that they faced from a macroeconomic standpoint in 2022, he was one of the first tech leaders to openly express the urgent need of getting lean as an organization. Unlike the growth at any cost approach often associated with tech startups, Dara has focused on building a solid foundation for Uber's future, accelerated by these headwinds. So he recognizes in tough markets that the leader has to stare down a black hole and understand what's happening, and then also process that very quickly and be decisive. So he talks, and we've seen this within other leaders that we've studied, there are certain characteristics that are needed from a peacetime CEO and others from a wartime CEO standpoint. And so how Dara describes this as a leader and how he adjusts his kind of focus is in peacetime, he's more very team-oriented and consultative in his actions. More so in wartime, though, he has to be more action-oriented and solve really for speed. And he says, really the job of the leader in this case is to go against the grain in the good times. You, in a sense, have to be the asshole, have to come down on the team and not be a cheerleader. But in the tough times, you kind of flip that and you are the cheerleader. And so his main task to clean up the image of a company that had become one of the most despised in the country, in part due to revelations about their corporate culture, he replaced Travis's once inviolable 14 values, which contain such items as super pumped and always be hustlin', with 8 values focusing on customer obsession. At all of his public appearances after taking over, he stressed the message, "We do the right thing, period." So where did he get some of these other leadership sort of qualities and such? And those come, I think, from two different very influential sort of mentors and people that he had worked with. The first one being he was mentored by a former Allen and Company president, Herbert Allen. And one piece of advice he's gotten that's been important to him from Herbert is to bet on people. So he very early advised him to bet on people, and he didn't really understand it at the time, Dara, for almost 30 years, he said, but he does now. And some other key leadership lessons he learned from Herbert that have resonated throughout his career. One is the power of relationships. So Herbert was known for his deep personal connections across industries. From him, Dara learned that business is built on trust and relationships. This understanding helped Dara cultivate strong bonds with stakeholders, clients, and colleagues, emphasizing the importance of genuine, long-term connections over purely transactional interactions. Strategic patience is another one. Working under Herbert Allen, Dara observed how important it was to be patient and strategic rather than seeking immediate gains. That balance of risk-taking and caution from that taught him the importance of assessing both opportunities and potential downsides. Herbert Allen also had a measured approach that taught Dara to look beyond the short term and understand the value of waiting for the right opportunity. That philosophy guided him as he made major strategic decisions at Expedia and later at Uber. Risk-reward balancing, too. So Herbert was known for taking calculated risks that often paid off significantly. That balance and insight became important when Dara steered Expedia through bold acquisitions and expansion efforts, and when he later took on the challenging CEO role at Uber. Maintaining integrity. So Allen's leadership emphasized ethics and maintaining one's principles in business. Dara witnessed how Allen navigated business relationships with integrity, which later influenced Dara's reputation as an ethical and transparent leader. At Expedia, and especially during his tenure at Uber, that adherence to those strong ethical standards was crucial into helping to reshape company culture. Keeping a low profile but high impact. So Herbert was known for his influential yet low-key presence. This taught Dara that effective leadership doesn't always mean being in the spotlight. Dara often adopted a similar approach, focusing on driving results and making significant changes without seeking attention. This quiet confidence was seen in his management style at Expedia and in how he approached the challenges at Uber. Adaptability and navigating complexity. So Allen & Company's business model, it sort of combined investment banking and media advisory, exposed Dara to complex cross-industry deals and mergers. This experience trained Dara to navigate multifaceted problems and adapt quickly, a skill he carried with him to lead a diverse company like Uber through intricate regulatory and operational challenges. Dara then goes on to reflect that he learned really the most in his 4 to 5 years at Expedia. He learned a valuable leadership lesson early in his career as CEO of Expedia, 18 months into his 12-year tenure at the online travel company. A young engineer approached him and said, "Dara, you are telling us what to do. You're not telling us where to go. If you tell us where to go, we'll do it because we believe in you." Dara reflects on that and says, "That really rung a bell for me. I was telling people what to do, but I wasn't laying the vision of where we've got to go. I had to plant a flag." Showing a remarkable degree of self-awareness, he admitted that he wasn't a particularly good CEO in his first year at Expedia. That engineer's comment shifted his view of what a CEO has to do. Part of what shaped him as well is his second mentor, Barry Diller. And Barry Diller, at a high level, helped him with radical transparency and the culture of a company. The most important thing he says he's learned from Barry is listening. He really values learning, even though he's an incredibly accomplished person. He listens, he'll push back against you, and ultimately you both leave the meeting having learned something. More on Barry Diller and what sort of leadership lessons Dara learned from him. Vision and innovation. So Diller was really renowned for his bold and innovative vision, seeking new avenues for growth and disruption in established industries. Really importance also of thinking beyond the immediate horizon and anticipating shifts in industry trends. That lesson drove him to embrace innovation at Expedia, expanding the company's global reach, diversifying its offerings. Empowerment and delegation. So, one of his hallmarks as a leader was empowering those around him to make decisions and take ownership of the roles. Dara adopted this approach, building teams he could trust and giving autonomy to act. That allowed him to scale operations effectively at Expedia, later fostering a collaborative environment at Uber, empowering teams to drive products forward without excessive oversight. Resilience and risk taking. So Diller's career was marked with definitely some calculated risk taking and resilience in the face of setbacks. He witnessed firsthand how Diller navigated high stakes acquisitions and bold business moves. That lesson became vital when he spearheaded aggressive expansion and acquisition strategies at Expedia. He also learned the value of direct communication. So Diller's communication style was famously candid, straightforward. From him, Dara learned that clear, direct communication fosters trust and alignment within an organization. That approach has been reflected in his transparent leadership, both in how he engaged with employees at Expedia and in his efforts to rebuild Uber's culture by addressing challenges openly. Certainly, a strong company culture was Diller's ability to create that and value talent, creativity, and a results-oriented mindset that influenced then Dara's belief in that power of culture. He saw how Diller created and cultivated an environment that encouraged people to be proactive and innovative. Strategic acquisitions and growth. So IAC was a powerhouse known for strategic acquisitions, and Dara really learned the art of identifying valuable opportunities and understanding how to integrate acquisitions successfully. Expedia ended up acquiring some companies such as HomeAway and Travelocity to solidify market leadership, and he applied similar strategic insights to Uber's expansion into the different sectors of food delivery, freight. Finally, balancing the big picture thinking with the detail orientation. So Diller's leadership was marked by the ability to juggle grand strategic visions with an attention to detail. Dara picked up on his dual approach, learning to remain hands-on with critical elements while steering the company toward broader goals. So Barry Diller definitely molded Dara into the leader that he is right now, and that influence gave him the tools to really lead with boldness, transparency, focus on long-term growth. So with that, that is episode 40 on Dara Khosrowshahi. Definitely a turnaround leader from what Uber was just 6 or 7 years ago to what we know it now as, and being positioned to really own a lot of the transportation market. And certainly his leadership, that calm and diplomatic style, has definitely yielded great results for the company of Uber today as well as in the years to come. So with that, thanks for listening to episode 40, and we will be back here soon for episode 41.